we'll be looking at that later on. We want to take a look at the state of bodybuilding in Kenya. And in studio, I'm joined by two members from the Bodybuilding Federation of Kenya. On my far right, Christine Anindo, who's a member of the Federation. Welcome to studio, Christine.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
How was your week?
Ish, but we thank God so far.
Okay.
Yes.
And Thomas Mwalo, who's the Secretary Gen for the Kenya Bodybuilding Federation. Chris, Thomas, not the first time to have you here.
Yes.
Welcome back. How does it feel?
Yeah, feel at home, and I'm quite excited.
Well, let's now talk about bodybuilding in Kenya. You know, the state of bodybuilding in Kenya. Where are we now? Tom?
I think so far we've made tremendous growth as from when we got into the office, that was 4 years ago. We've created so much fan base, and of course the athletes, the events that we've had generally have really grown so fast. Yeah.
2018, we've not seen we've not seen events so far. Very few events that we've had.
Yeah, I think this was because the last general election, the country was not stable. So again, we did not want to put something on course. But this coming weekend, we have something happening in Kisumu. That is the Greater Western. We decided, because most of our events, we've always hosted them in Nairobi and Mombasa. So we've decided to go outside Nairobi, and we'll be having the Greater Western, which is going to combine all the Western region, Nyanza region, and of course it's an open event. So people from Nairobi and other counties are still eligible to participate. So that is our main biggest event this year, the first one, of course. And of course, we will have Mr. Kenya scheduled later this year.
Christine, let's talk about female bodybuilding. I mean, when people talk about bodybuilding, there's the perception that, you know, it's for men only, but we have female bodybuilders, and you being a member of the federation, I mean, what do you have to say about female bodybuilding?
It's just women bodybuilding. It's just like any other sport, and I have been in the industry for over 15 years, but not as a bodybuilder. But I encourage women to work out more. Yes, so it's not the perception of men.
Why don't we have, you know, women, many women joining bodybuilding? Because we look at the competitions that we've seen in Kenya so far, the number of women that turn out, you know, for bodybuilding is not that high. And the winners per se, we've seen, you know, a specific select that have always won that.
It's because there's this fear that bodybuilding is more of men. So men don't like, let's say if I'm married, my husband will not want me to do bodybuilding because they have that perception of the steroid part. Yes. So there's that fear.
So as a member of the federation, what are you doing, you know, to push aside this or to brush this perception that people have?
Encourage more, like encourage more ladies to join the bodybuilding, and it starts from you. Yes.
Thomas, let me come back to you. Bodybuilding, and a number of people have this perception that, you know, when you're doing bodybuilding, getting this body, you know, like if somebody looks at you, it's not easy to get this big. People have the perception that you have to take supplements to get this big. Or rather, you have to also use other ways to get that big.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and is one of the key things that people normally look at. Yes, we do have supplementation in bodybuilding, but there are supplements that are recommended for in every sport, let me say general, not only bodybuilding, but in bodybuilding as well, we have supplements that are recommended. And what we'll advise our members is there are some of the content in those supplements that have been banned. So when you're buying or when you're getting a supplement, you should look at the table of content and then look vis-a-vis what is banned by the Kenya Anti-Doping Agency, so that you don't use a supplement just as an innocent person, and then you end up get caught, and then you say you did not know. Yes.
So how expensive is it, getting into bodybuilding?
Bodybuilding is a very expensive sport. I will not lie to you, because one, this is an individual sport, and you put so much into it in terms of supplementation, food, time, and more so time. And time is money.
Yeah.
So it's a very expensive sport, and that's why we try. Not so many are into it, but the ones who are into it and have already known the fun of it can't get out of it as well.
I mean, people will want to know, like yourself, you've been doing this, and before you got into, the federation, and, right now you are not an active participant in the competitions.
Yes.
The meal plan, how is it? Somebody who is watching right now at home and will want to know, how is the meal plan of a bodybuilder?
A meal plan of a bodybuilder is not quite so complicated, yet you need to be you need to discipline yourself. Meal plan of a bodybuilder consists of high carbohydrates, high proteins, and of course a bit of vitamins. And you try as much as possible to balance like all the nutrients. A bodybuilder, a professional bodybuilder, will have like 8 meals in a day.
8 meals?
Yes. 8 meals in a day, which
that's a lot of food.
That's a lot of food.
Yes.
That's why we are saying it's very expensive. Yes.
8 meals in a day.
8 meals in a day, with an interval of probably two hours, breaking in between. And then, of course, some can use supplementation as a meal as well in between the prep season. Yes.
Well, 4 years that you guys have been running the federation so far, I mean, facilities. Let's talk about facilities. You've been running the federation, but there is a question of, where, the bodybuilders that, are under the federation can go to and get the right facilities, to get into that shape that they want here in the country. And there've always been this talk about facilities. What is the federation doing on that?
So far, you see, there's a lot that federations, not only our federation, but because federations, the most federations we have in Kenya right now, we are more of doing voluntarily work. Therefore, we are not getting any funds from anywhere, so that we're able to put in facilities that we can direct our athletes to go, work out in those facilities. But we are working with private owners, and there are a few areas. Of course, we've referred our athletes to go, work out in those gyms as well. But what we will urge more as a federation going forward is we would like also to have our own facility owned by a federation, because as we are moving forward, and I know there are the people who are watching, people in government who are watching, who are going to come in to help us put up this kind of facilities that can also help us improve our sports like we've always wanted to do.
Christine, you've been a member of the federation you've been in for almost 15 years, and for all that period, has it gotten to a point where you can actually look at Kenya and bodybuilding and say that we actually can get a person probably winning Mr. World?
At the moment, I can say we've made a big step, and I'm very sure one day we're going to get a Mr. World or a Miss World as well.
So where are we right now?
At the rate of 1 to 10, at least we are at 8 now.
8?
Yes.
So you see a Kenyan winning Mr. World in the future, in a few years?
Yes.
Can you probably give us a period? 4 or 5 years, probably?
And 3.
3 years?
3 years?
Yes.
Thomas, what do you make? You've said probably 3, and I saw you, Thomas, concur with that. What makes you say that probably in 3 years?
Because we have already international athletes. Yeah, we have Mesha Kochieng in the US. We've made tremendous effort, and right now we're not only having athletes that are competing locally. And you see, the moment we start giving our athletes exposure to go even participate internationally, that means our sport is growing not only locally but on international level. So the ones that are on international level, they're still working hard to get to the top. And the ones that we still they're still competing locally, we're also working so hard to make sure they also start competing internationally. So we know very well that as higher they go,
Yeah.
the better for us.
You've talked about Meshach Ocheng, who is in the US, but let's talk about the athletes that we have here locally.
Yes.
You know, as a federation, what are you doing to ensure that they get the much needed exposure?
What we do as a federation is to do more of educational, because when we impact them with knowledge, then we are able to move very fast and even harvest, good quality athletes who are not on banned substance. Because one thing that we need to do as a federation is to make sure that we impact all our athletes with the good knowledge. Once they have the good knowledge, they know when they get to the gym, this is how I'm going to work it out, and this is how I'm going to achieve the point. And when I go on stage, this is basically how I'm going to score.
There's the perception that, if you get into bodybuilding, at the end of the day, you will end up becoming a bouncer in probably clubs. And this is something that I know you normally get a lot. I mean, what are you doing, to curb that perception that when you get into bodybuilding, the end product is not you being a bouncer?
That, I think, is one thing that it's not only attributed to bodybuilding, but is attributed to our economy as well. Because yes, I've gotten into bodybuilding, yet I cannot earn a living, and there is a job opportunity, something that I think that I can do to to earn a living. So I'll end up, getting into, going as a bouncer. But if our economy grows, I know very well that we will pass that. And I know it's something that is workable, but it's not always obvious that you must end up or become a bouncer when you get it's a choice again.
Yeah.
Because that's a job preference, and again, people are earning from it. So if you can earn your living from that, and at the same time you maintain your sport, because like I told you, it's a very expensive sport. So why not?
Christine, let's talk about doping. It's one of the sports that people look at and, they feel like probably the people that are into bodybuilding engage in doping. What are your thoughts?
In all the sports apart from bodybuilding, there's the doping part, but as in bodybuilding,
Yes.
that is banned. So, like, we have few cases who have tried, as Thomas said, there are some supplements that can make you, like when you're going for the test, they find you with you get those elements for anti-doping. You get the anti-doping and you're disqualified.
Thomas, what do you have to say?
I think this is, we as bodybuilding, I will not lie to you, we are so much affected. And I think last week we were in a seminar, workshop rather, with World Anti-Doping Agency, and we enacted laws, anti-doping agency laws, that really put us in a hard place as a federation, whereby if more of our athletes, 2 or 3 of our athletes are found within a year, we risk being deregistered. So what we have to do as a federation, or what we are doing as a federation, is more of educational. We are getting information more to our athletes so that they know. And that's why I talked about the supplements. If you look at, if you go to World Anti-Doping Agency, there's a column, there's a list of banned substances that are always there. So before any of them buy supplements, you need to check, because it keeps on updating. Because you see, something like marijuana, it's now a drug. If you use it, probably when you're lifting weight, and you can be caught with that.
Yes.
There are things that were banned then that are not banned now.
Yes.
So when you're buying supplementation, those are some of the things that our athletes need to check. So we will give them the site where they can always go and update themselves in terms of what is needed and what is not needed. But in terms of the doping, yes, I will say that we are affected, and we are working towards teaching our athletes more on how they should stay clean and win clean. Yeah.
So for the year 2018, how many events are we probably looking at, and when should we expect them to happen?
We are looking at like the one we have now, Mr. and Miss Greater Western. That is happening on the 5th of May in Kisumu, Aga Khan Hall.
Yes.
And then we are looking at one in October. That will be the main. That is Mr. Kenya. Those are probably 2 events that we schedule for this year, because at the same time also we need to do funds mobilization from different partners as well. And you see, bodybuilding is one good sport, and we're still looking for partners to come in and partner with us, so that we can have more events scheduled.
Well, let's talk about sponsorship. Looking at most federations that we have in the country, there has been talk of, corporates are not willing to come and sponsor the federations and put their money into the federations. Have you been affected by that?
Yes, we have been affected by that, because sometimes you do a very good proposal, you present it to sponsors, and then they look at it, they will stay with it, they'll look at it, and then they'll give you a feedback probably that we are sorry, we cannot, Those are some of the things that have really affected our sport. I wish we had a stable sponsor who can come in just, and say, I want to work with bodybuilding. This is how I want to, I can just mention like the Tononoka, the steel, the people who are dealing with, even Safaricom for better, strongest network. We can relate to that. This is a strong people, so they can talk about that. Those are some of the sponsors we've appealed to, so that they can come on board and assist us, drive this sport. Because I know this is one sport that it's loved by so many. And in 80s, 90s, it was a big thing. We've tried to bring it back to that level, but we still need to work much harder so that we can have bodybuilding on top again.
But at the end of the day, one will ask, what are you doing to attract the sponsors?
What we will do, as a federation,
yes,
there's much we can do. Yes. Once we do, probably do a good proposal, and then probably we go pitch with the sponsor, and then we'll wait for the feedback. In the meantime, we'll want our athletes also to stay clean, because again, there's no sponsor who would want to come in doing that. Probably that sport is involved in doping issues and stuff. That's why we're putting more education across to our athletes, so that they can stay clean at the same time as we are trying as a federation to attract sponsors, because we want a clean sport. So when we go to a sponsor, we'll tell them this is a clean sport, this is what we stand for, because bodybuilding is a self-discipline sport. Yeah. So a bodybuilder is someone, you can even employ them into your company, because once you can attain the discipline of being the way you are as an individual, that means you can also be committed to something if you are tasked to do so.
So as we wind up, Christine, and I still have to throw it to you about the female bodybuilding in the country. What should we expect?
We should expect more, because if we compare to last year's competition, there were so many ladies, unlike years back. So like this event that is going to happen over the weekend, we expect more ladies to turn up. Yes,
Thomas, as we wind up, 2018, you've said you'll see more events that you're expecting in 2018. So I still have to take it back to the Mr. World, aspect of it.
Yes.
And you've talked about 3 years. And what is the federation doing to make sure that, we are on the right path heading there?
I think what we, as a federation, of course, we can't do it ourselves. Some of these things we also have to discuss with our partners who are the government also. Next month, we have a few athletes who are going for Arnold Classic in South Africa. So you see, when we start getting into those bigger stage, then we are more visible, and more people are likely to just come in and assist us in achieving that dream. Because it's very possible, and we've always worked as a federation to achieve that. And lastly, what I wanted to say also was during this event that is coming, we were going to have a short stakeholders so that we just update them on what needs to happen. Because again, this is the year that we're going to have our general election. Remember, we've been in the office for 4 years. So
Yes.
again, we will discuss on the way forward on when, and we'll set the date for elections. And of course, how we'll open up the stage for everyone who would like to assist in any way, to become an official of the federation, to come in and participate.
Well, thanks a lot, Christine Anindo, a member of the Kenya Bodybuilding Federation, and Thomas Mwalo, who is the Secretary General of the Kenya Bodybuilding Federation. Thanks a lot for finding time to come here. I really appreciate. We've been talking about the state of bodybuilding in Kenya, and this coming week they will be having an event in Kisumu.
Yes.
That is Mr. Western Kenya.
Right.
It will be on Saturday and Sunday?
Yes,
on Saturday.
It's just on Saturday.
On Saturday.
At the Aga Khan Hall.
At the Aga Khan Hall, and definitely we'll be bringing you the results of who will be crowned as the winner of Mr. Western that will be in Kisumu. So let's move away from bodybuilding now and into the